Let me share some of the biggest lessons I've learned from a lifetime spent building dreams and beating the odds. I beat a lot of odds, a lot of odds. A lot of people said, I don't know, but it worked out okay. Where are we? Oh, gee, I'm president. How did that happen? I'm going to give it to you, though, just as I see it and as I've learned it, the hard way and the easy way. First, if you're here today and think that you're too young to do something great, let me tell you that you are wrong. You're not too young. You can have great success at a very young age. You're all very young. In America, with drive and ambition, young people can do anything. I was 28 when I took my first big gamble to develop a hotel in Midtown Manhattan, the Grand Hyatt, and it worked out incredibly well. But I was very young at the time. I was like a very young person in sort of an old person business. Steve Jobs was 21 when he founded Apple. Walt Disney was 21 when he founded Disney. James Madison, James Monroe, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson. They were no older than 25 when they began the journeys that etched their names into the history books for all time. So to everyone here today, don't waste your youth. Go out and fight right from the beginning, from the day you leave this incredible university. Go out and fight tough, fight fair, but go out and fight. You're going to be very successful because now is the time to work harder than you have ever worked before. Push yourself further than you have ever pushed yourself before. Find your limits and then smash through everything. Go and smash through. You're at the age when you have the time and vitality to do really incredible things. If you just give it your all. You'll look back and a decade from now, you'll be astounded by what you've achieved. You'll remember this day. You'll remember when the guy named Trump was giving the commencement address and he said I could do it, and guess what? I did. I think you're going to remember that very fondly. I hope so. Second of all, and very importantly, you have to love what you do, okay? You have to. I learned a lot from my father because I watched him work. He worked he was a workaholic. He loved to work. He's a good man. He was a tough guy, tough as hell, actually. Now that I think back, I don't know if you could even get away with that nowadays. He was tough, but he was a good man, I'll tell you. And he worked 7 days a week. He worked Saturdays, Sundays, it didn't matter. And I learned by watching him, he loved his life. He loved what he was doing. He had a great long-term marriage, a long, many years. He beat me on that one. I said, Pop, you beat me on that one. But you know what I learned from him? That he loved life, and all he did was work. I see people that don't work hard, and they're miserable. You have to follow your own instincts. Listen to your parents. They're very wise, but you have to follow your instincts and your heart, your soul, and you want to be the very best you can be. Third thing is to think big. You know, you're going to do something, you might as well think big, because it's just as tough. You can think small. I know a lot of people, they thought small. They're very smart. I know others that weren't nearly as smart, but they had a better picture of the big picture, because it's just as hard to solve a small problem as a big problem, and it's just as much energy and everything else, except the result is going to be a smaller one. You will have all the same headaches and challenges, all the same delays and setbacks, so you might as well do something that's just amazing. America doesn't aim small, and neither do you. So think big when possible. Think big. Fourth is work hard. Work hard. Never, ever stop. An example is a great athlete, actually, Gary Player, golfer, great golfer. He wasn't as big as other men. He was actually on the small side. Don't tell him that. Friend of mine, don't tell him that, because he doesn't understand that. But he worked very hard. He made up for it. He never stopped. And he made a statement years ago that I read, and I thought it was sort of an incredible statement. He said, it's funny, the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? Think of that. The harder I work, the luckier I get. So you really have to work hard. Fifth is don't lose your momentum. You just want to keep it going. And you have to know if you are losing it, you have to know when you're losing it. So maybe you stop, and maybe it's time to stop. Listen to the feedback. Think through your plan very carefully and keep moving fast. The word momentum is very important. I mean, I'll just tell you a little story about a great real estate developer named William Levitt. He built Levittown. Some of you might live in a Levittown. He was the biggest developer in the whole country in the 1940s. And a company, Gulf and Western, came along and they said, we're going to make you an offer to buy your company. And they offered him a lot of money, more money than he ever thought he could make. And he retired and he led a beautiful life. He had a wife, I must tell you, it was a second wife. It was a trophy wife. What can I say? I don't like telling you everything, but we're all friends, right? Can we talk? But he lived, it was a life of tremendous luxury. He had so many millions of dollars. He was given a fortune for the company. And 10 years went by, and then 15 years went by, and he got a call from this big conglomerate, Gulf and Western, and they said, we're not doing well with the purchase, because he used to pick up every nail, every piece of sawdust, every piece of wood, every chip, everything, and he'd sell it. He'd make a couple of bucks. Everything was perfect. But 15 years went by, and he was so excited, and they sold him back his company. And he started, and he was going to tear apart the world because he got bored with a life of luxury. And he started building and building and building. And the markets turned on him, and he went bad. He lost everything, and he went bankrupt, absolutely bankrupt. And it was a sad story to read. It was such an amazing story because he was so rich, but he paid them, and he bought it for the right price, bought it low, but he went wild. He was at a party on Fifth Avenue, I'll never forget, and it was a party of a very, very powerful man who was having the party in a magnificent apartment overlooking the park. And I walked in, and there were 50 or so people. I recognized most of them, all the biggest business people in the world, actually. Very glamorous. I looked in the corner, and there was Mr. William Levitt sitting all by himself on a chair, looking very glum. Nobody was talking to him, because you'll find that when you're not successful, you lose a lot of friends. It's not a good situation. But there was nobody talking to him, but I wanted to talk to him because I was in the real estate business, and he was, and most of these people were in different businesses. And I went over and talked to him, and I said, how are you, Mr. Levitt? He goes, Donald? He knew who I was. Not well. I'm not well. I said, so can you come back? He said, no, son, I lost my momentum. I shouldn't have done it. I lost my momentum. And I never forgot that expression. He lost his momentum. If he would have kept going, instead of selling and relaxing and going into a different life, he probably would have been 3 times bigger than he was, but he lost his momentum. Number 6, if you want to change the world, you have to have the courage to be an outsider. In other words, you have to take certain risks and do things a little bit differently. Otherwise, if that weren't the case, everybody would be successful. It doesn't work that way. Progress never comes from those satisfied with the failures of a broken system. It comes from those who want to fix the broken system. And change is never easy, and the closer you get to success, the more ferociously those with a vested interest in the past will resist you. They want to resist. So I just say, trust me on that, because I know you really do. You have to break the system a little bit and follow your own instincts. But if your vision is right, nothing will hold you down. Nothing. You have to have the right vision. Number 7 is to trust your instincts, common sense. You can go very far in life with common sense. And it helps when you know that borders are not racist, speech is not violence, America is good, terrorists are bad, men can never become women, police are not criminals, and criminals are not victims. 8th, everybody should believe in the American dream. It's real, it's there, and it's right before you. We're coming back to the American dream. 9th, think of yourself as a winner. The power of positive thinking. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. Don't consider yourself a victim. In America, we reject that idea that anyone is born a victim. Our heroes are the ones who take charge of their own destiny, make their own luck, and determine their own fate despite the odds. Whether you were born rich or poor, black or white, male or female in America, anyone can be a winner. And next is to be an original. The old-time greats were people who had the confidence to be a little different. God only created one of you. Remember that. God created one of you. You're one of a kind. So don't try to be someone else. Just be yourself. And finally, and most importantly, never, ever give up. Never give up. Just went a little bit longer. If you just held out a little bit longer, you would have been successful. Well, the stories of that are legend. But I've learned that perseverance is everything. So whatever happens, no matter where you are in life, stay optimistic and just keep pushing forward. Just don't stop. Never, ever give up. Victory is right around the corner. So never let anyone tell you that something is impossible. Ever, ever, ever. In America, the impossible is what we all do best. There is nothing you cannot do if you are willing to fight for it. You got to fight, fight, fight. Oh, I've heard that expression.